What's up, guys? It's me again. So today in the United States, it is Monday the 6th. Passover is today in the States, was yesterday if you're in Jerusalem, which means that in Jerusalem today is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and that goes on for 7 days. So the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is the day that the Israelites left Egypt. Now, they slayed the Passover lamb on the 14th, around like midday, late afternoon, around that time. That's also around the time when Jesus died. They took him off the cross, they prepared his body, and then they put him in the tomb. And then they had to get home because the 15th, right, the day after Jesus died, the day after Jesus died, right, was the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and that is a day where nobody is allowed to go out and work. So they couldn't go out to buy spices to finish up his burial, so they left him in there for a day, and then they came back after that first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread was over, right? So the second day they went out, they bought their spices and stuff, they came back, they prepared his body, and then they left him. And then, on the third day, he was still dead. And then he rose. Anyway, since today is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, I'm going to be reading 2 chapters today for each section of the day that I do. So we'll be reading 4 chapters altogether today. Alrighty. Yesterday we read 34 and 35, and that was talking a little bit about Jacob and his family's life, where they settled when they came back to the land of Canaan. And we also find out about Dinah, who is the sister of the brothers of the tribes of Israel, all of those guys. It's their sister. We find out that she was violated by the prince of that town, prince of that city, and they schemed a way to get back at them, and 2 of the brothers ended up killing every male in that city and taking everything and pillaging everything. Now, personally, I think that was taking it a bit too far, and the rest of the brothers and Jacob thought that they were going too far, but they thought it was justified to do that, and so they did it. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and read Genesis 36 and 37. And these are the descendants of Esau. He is Edom. Esau had taken his wives from among the Canaanite women, Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibamah, daughter of Anah, daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Basemath, daughter of Ishmael, sister of Nebaioth. Okay, now there is a footnote here, so we're going to go ahead and look at that. 36:1. Okay, so this is over 36 verses 1 through 43, and it's the title, The Chronicles of Esau. The Torah would not have devoted an entire chapter to Esau's genealogy unless it contained vital teachings. Indeed, a section of the Zohar, Idra Rabbah, is devoted to the mystical exposition of this character. From the literal sense of the verses and the parallel genealogies and chronicles, it becomes clear that many of Esau's descendants were products of incest and illegitimacy. According to Mizrahi, this is reason enough for the chapter. There are other lessons as well, some of them halalic, which are discussed by the commentators. Furthermore, the Torah teaches us the honor that came to Esau because he was an offspring of Abraham. Okay. All right, and this one is just about 36:3, the reason why I stopped. So in Genesis 28:9, Basemath is called Mahalat, which implies forgiveness, and it's from the root word and I can't say the root word because I'm not well versed in Hebrew, but it's Mem, He, and Lamed, which is, if you were to just pronounce the consonants and not the vowels, it's Machal. The sages derive that one's sins are forgiven on the day of one's marriage. Interesting. So that makes sense why he would... That would make sense why he would marry a third wife, because if his first two wives displeased his parents, then he's not honoring his parents, so he got a third wife to clear his name. But even then, he got his third wife from, if it's one of Ishmael's descendants, then it's still, it's a little weird. But then again, Ishmael is the son of Abraham, so. Okay, let's continue on. Adah bore Esau, Eliphaz, Basemath bore Reuel, Oholibama bore Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are Esau's sons who were born to him in the land of Canaan. Esau took his wives, his sons, his daughters, and all the members of his household, and his livestock, and all his animals, and all the wealth he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to a land because of his brother Jacob. For their wealth was too abundant for them to dwell together, and the land of their sojourns could not support them because of their livestock. So Esau settled on Mount Seir. Esau, he is Edom. So at the beginning of this chapter, right, at the beginning of the paragraph, we see here it say Esau, he is Edom, right? So we know who Esau is. Esau is Edom. So if we ever hear later on in the Bible Edom or an Edomite, we're talking about a descendant of Esau, right? And once that paragraph is done, it goes again to say Esau, he is Edom. So that's twice, right? That's to get us to remember who Esau is, because it's important. As we just read in the footnote, they wouldn't have put it in here if it didn't have some kind of teaching that it wanted us to think about, right? And it's already said 2 times who Esau is. And these are the descendants of Esau, ancestor of Edom, on Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, son of Adah, Esau's wife; Reuel, son of Basemath, Esau's wife. The sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was a concubine of Eliphaz, son of Esau, and she bore Amalek to Eliphaz. These are the children of Adah, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Reuel: Nahat, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the children of Basemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Oholibama, daughter of Anah, daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. She bore to Esau Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These are the chiefs of the children of Esau, the descendants of Esau's firstborn Eliphaz: Chief Teman, Chief Omar, Chief Zepho, Chief Kenaz, Chief Korah, Chief Gatam, Chief Amalek. These are the chiefs of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These are the descendants of Adah. And these are the descendants of Reuel, Esau's son: Chief Nahat, Chief Zerah, Chief Shammah, Chief Mizah. These are the chiefs of Reuel in the land of Edom. These are the descendants of Basemath, Esau's wife. And these are the descendants of Oholibama, Esau's wife: Chief Jeush, Chief Jalam, Chief Korah. These are the chiefs of Oholibama, daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the children of Esau, and these are their chiefs. He is Edom. So there's the third time they say he is Edom. And at the end of that, we have another footnote. In this genealogy lay the roots of Edom, which evolved into Rome, the perpetual enemy of Israel. Wow. Who would have thought? That's crazy. So it was Esau's descendants that turned into the Romans. That's... Who'd have thunk it, dude? Okay. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, who were settled in the land: Lotan and Shobal and Zibeon and Anah, and Dishon and Ezer and Dishan. These are the chiefs of the Horite, the descendants of Seir in the land of Edom. The sons of Lotan were Hori and Hemam. Lotan's sister was Timnah. These are the sons of Shobal, Alvan and Manahat and Ebal, Shepho and Onam. These are the sons of Zibeon, Aya and Anah, the same Anah who discovered the mules in the desert while he was pasturing the donkeys for Zibeon his father. These are the children of Anah, Dishon and Oholibama, daughter of Anah. These are the sons of Dishan, Hemdan and Eshban and Itran and Cheran. These are the sons of Ezer, Bilhan and Zaavan and Akan. These are the sons of Dishan, Uz and Aran. These are the chiefs of the Horite, Chief Lotan, Chief Shobal, Chief Zibeon, Chief Anah, Chief Dishon, Chief Ezer, and Chief Dishan. These are the chiefs of the Horite, according to their chiefs in the land of Seir. Now these are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before a king reigned over the children of Israel. Bela, son of Beor, reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinhabah. And Bela died, and Joban, son of Zerah, from Bozrah, reigned after him. And Jobab died, and Husham, of the land of the Temanites, reigned after him. And Husham died, and Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated the Midianites in the field of Moab, reigned after him. And the name of his city was Avit. And Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah reigned after him. And Samlah died, and Saul, or Shaul, if you want to say it Hebraically, Shaul of Rehoboth Nahar reigned after him. And Saul died, and Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, reigned after him. Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, died, and Hadar reigned after him. The name of his city was Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, daughter of Mezahab. Now these are the names of the chief of Esau by their families, by their regions, by their names: the chief of Timnah, the chief of Alva, the chief of Jehet, the chief of Oholibama, the chief of Elah, the chief of Pinon, the chief of Kenaz, the chief of Teman, the chief of Mibzar, the chief of Magdiel, the chief of Iram. These are the chiefs of Edom by their settlements in the land of their possession. He is Esau, father of Edom. Okay, so just about at the end of every paragraph, we see that it says he is Esau, the son of Edom, or Esau, he is Edom, right? And it's to remind us that Esau is the ancestor of the Edomites, right? And we already know Esau's story because Esau's story was recorded in the Bible. So we can kind of get some sort of grasp on their personality as a nation because they come from who they come from, right? Anyway, let me see if there are any more. There are. Okay, so there's one more, and it's for 36:31. The Edomite kings. The 8 Edomite kings listed here reigned either before Moses, who had the status of a king, or who were destined to reign in future years prior to Saul, the first Jewish king. Okay, so I didn't mention this when we started, or maybe I did, but the first 5 books of the Bible are written by Moses. Now, actually, I should say they are credited to Moses. Whether they were actually written by him or not, or if they were written by his attendant, you know what I'm saying, or they were written in stone, right, by the finger of God and given to Moses to give to the Israelites, right? And the first original was put in the Ark of the Testimony, and then he wrote it down. Regardless, it was accredited to Moses. Now, we just read in this footnote that the kings named here either reigned before Moses was around or after Moses was around, but before Saul, the first king of Israel. So we get a full like genealogy of Esau up into a certain point that we haven't even gotten to in the rest of the Bible. Okay, and that was Genesis chapter 36. So we'll go ahead and get right into Genesis chapter 37. Jacob settled in the land of his father's sojournings in the land of Canaan. These are the chronicles of Jacob. Okay, so give me just a second because there is another footnote. So before we get any further into that, we'll read that. After his long exile and struggles, Jacob wished finally, blank blank, these are Hebrew words, and I'm not able to pronounce them yet, but they mean to settle down in tranquility. So after his long exile and struggles, Jacob wished to settle down in tranquility, but the anguish of Joseph's kidnapping pounced upon him. God says, "Are the righteous not satisfied with what waits them in the world to come, that they expect to live at ease in the world too?" And this is the interpretation of Rashi. So are the righteous not satisfied with what awaits them in the world to come, that they expect to live at ease in this world too? Are they not satisfied with waiting for what comes in the next world, that they expect to live easily in this world? Okay. These are the chronicles of Jacob. Joseph, at the age of 17 years, was a shepherd with his brothers by the flock, but he was a youth with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph would bring evil reports about them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons, since he was a child of his old age, and he made him a fine woolen tunic. His brothers saw that it was he whom their father loved most of all his brothers, so they hated him, and they could not speak to him peaceably. Joseph dreamt a dream which he told his brothers, and they hated him even more. Give me a second, I gotta flip the page. Whoa! Whoa, sorry guys. I moved back a little too far. Okay. Yep. And he hated his brothers, or they hated his brother even more. Okay. So I'm going to stop there because there are more footnotes that we got to read. And before I read those footnotes, I'm going to go ahead and put my headphones back in so you guys can hear me. There we go. All right, sorry about that. Okay. So this one is for chapter 37, verse 2. At this time, Jacob was 108 years old. Isaac was 168 and lived for another 12 years. And Leah died about this time. I'll have to check that later. See the Seder Olam too. So I don't know if they have the Seders in here or not, but we'll see. And then this is about 37 verse 5:11. Joseph's dreams and the intensified hatred. Although the sages leave it as an open question whether dreams have validity, it is clear from the scriptural accounts of the dreams of Joseph, Pharaoh, and his officials that God used them to convey revelation of future events. Joseph's dreams were divine revelations that he was to be the leader of the family. As Shelah puts it, he was to be a spiritual bridge between the exalted level of the patriarchs and the lesser one of the tribal ancestors. The brothers, however, understood his dreams to be reflections of his waking fantasies that he would dominate his peers. So that kind of makes sense. So they interpreted it that he dreamed those dreams because he wanted to be above his brothers, and not that God was giving him a revelation, right? He was destined to reign over his brothers, right? And we'll see that when we get further on into the Bible. But God was the one who ordained that, right? And put it in his heart. It wasn't Joseph on his own. It was God doing that. I cannot believe that happened. Jesus Christ, forgive me. Alrighty. He said to them, "Hear, if you please, this dream which I dreamt. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the middle of the field, when, behold, my sheaf arose and also remained standing. Then, behold, your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to my sheaf. His brothers said to him, Would you then reign over us? Would you then dominate us?" And they hated him even more because of his dreams and because of his talk. He dreamt another dream and related it to his brothers, and he said, "Look, I dreamt another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." And he related it to his father and to his brothers. His father scolded him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamt? Are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, to bow down to you to the ground?" So his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing in Shechem, are they not? Come, I will send you to them." He said to him, "Here I am." And he said to him, "Go now, look into the welfare of your brothers and the welfare of the flock, and bring me back word." So he sent him from the depth of Hebron, and he arrived at Shechem. A man discovered him, and behold, he was blundering in the field. The man asked him, saying, "What do you seek?" And he said, "My brothers do I seek. Tell me, please, where they are pasturing." The man said, "They have journeyed on from here, for I heard them saying, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan. They saw him from afar, and when he had not yet approached them, they conspired against him to kill him. And they said to one another, "Look, that dreamer is coming. So now come and let's kill him, and throw him into one of the pits, and we will say a wild beast devoured him. Then we shall see what will become of his dreams." Reuben heard, and he rescued him from their hand. He said, "We will not strike him mortally." And Reuben said to them, "Shed no blood. Throw him into this pit in the wilderness, but lay no hand on him," intending to rescue him after their hand, to return him to his father. So, even though Reuben, all of his brothers plotting to kill him was messed up, right? I'm not going to deny that. Even throwing him into a pit is kind of messed up, but the only one who had an objection to taking his life was Reuben, right? The firstborn. And that's respectable, even though he didn't, say we shouldn't just do anything to him at all, right? And I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of footnote about that. But if there's not, then it's whatever. Okay, and I see another footnote here, and this one's about chapter 37, verse 12 through 28. Well, you know what? We'll actually just finish verse 28, and then we'll come back. And so it was, when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the fine woolen tunic that was on him. Then they took him and cast him into the pit. The pit was empty, no water was in it. They sat to eat food, they raised their eyes, and they saw, behold, a caravan of Ishmaelites was coming from Gilead, their camels bearing spices, balsam, and lotus, on their way to bring them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What gain will there be if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let our hand not be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh." His brothers agreed. Midianite men, traders, passed by. They drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. Then they brought Joseph to Egypt. Reuben returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. So he rent his garments. Now, if anybody doesn't know what it means to rent, it means to rigorously tear, right? So you'll see this a lot in the Bible. Somebody tearing their clothes is an expression of their internal anger, and it's not like a rage anger. It's more of like a sad kind of anger, like a disappointment kind of anger, like an ashamed kind of anger, you know what I mean? Like the kind of pull your hair out kind of stuff, right? But God, we'll find out later in the Bible, says not to pull your hair out, right? For and mourning the dead. You're not supposed to pull your hair out anyway, but because they can't pull their hair out, right? Tearing of the clothes. It shows that there's a lot of anger here. Anyway,
Returning to his brothers, he said, "The boy is gone, and I, where can I go?" They took Joseph's tunic, slaughtered a goatling, and dipped the tunic in the blood. They dispatched the fine woolen tunic, and they brought it to their father and said, "We found this. Identify, if you please. Is it your son's tunic or not?" He recognized it and said, "My son's tunic. A savage beast has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to bits." Then Jacob rent his garments and placed sackcloth on his loins. He mourned for his son many days. All his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to comfort himself and said, "For I will go down to the grave mourning for my son." And his father bewailed him. Now the Medanites had sold him to Egypt, to Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh, the chamberlain of butchers. All right, and that is Genesis chapter 37. But we've got some footnotes to read. This is the one for verses 12 through 28. Joseph is sent to visit his brothers, his sale into slavery. The stage now is set for one of the most perplexing events recorded in the Torah, the near killing of Joseph and his sale into slavery by his brothers. The story cannot be understood superficially, for we are not dealing with a band of robbers and murderers who would murder because of a coat. The brothers felt that Joseph was a threat, not so much to them as the family destiny. They knew that the weeding out process that banished Ishmael and Esau from the chosenness of Israel was to be over in their generation, so that the mission of the patriarchs could go forward with them. But if Joseph were to bring dissension into the family, he would destroy this potential with untold consequences. If so, then he had to be judged as a traitor and danger to them all. Interesting. Why were the brothers the ones who made Joseph suffer? The hand of heaven was at work in the sale of Joseph. The brothers thought he was a menace to the unity and destiny of the family. They thought that they would kill him, and a dead man cannot reign. They thought that they would make him a slave, and a slave cannot reign. But God thought otherwise. Joseph would be king, no matter what they did. The sages teach, our father Jacob would have had to descend to Egypt in chains and a collar. Said God, "He is my firstborn son. Shall I bring him down there in disgrace? Rather, I will lead his son before him, and he will be forced to descend after him." And this is the midrash of Bereshis Rabbah. Now, Bereshis, as I said, is Bereshit, which is the first word in Genesis, and that's why they call the first book Bereshit in Hebrew. So apparently this is a commentary. I think the midrash is a commentary on the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament. Anyway, but why did his great and righteous brothers have to be the instruments of his mistreatment? It is true that the brothers had reason to dislike Joseph. According to their own evaluation of their mission and his deeds, they had reason even to hate him. But their verdict was tainted by jealousy, and because men of their stature had no right to be jealous. God made them the instruments to bring Joseph to Egypt in such a heartless manner, causing their father 22 years of grief. Since it was foreordained that Jacob and his family go to Egypt, Joseph would have gone there anyway, but if his brothers had not fallen short of their ideal, Joseph's and Jacob's tears would have not been on their heads. Nevertheless, because they truly wanted only to do the right thing, even their misdeed had a good outcome. Thanks to them, Joseph was in Egypt to save the world from famine and lay the foundations for the Exodus and triumphant journey to Mount Sinai. Interesting. Okay, and that is all of the footnotes for Genesis chapter 37. So, I like how they paint a new light on the situations that go on in the Bible, trying to keep the righteousness of the brothers of Israel intact. I don't know how true any of it is, but it sounds cool the way that they do it. And if it's actually what happened, then that's crazy how it all happened. But sometimes what God wants to happen, doesn't, the way that it works out, doesn't seem like it should have been the way that it worked out. But is anything too hard for God? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys later on today with the rest of the chapters that we have to read today. Well, what are they? 38 and 39. So I'll see you guys later on for that. You guys have a wonderful day.